A timeline tells a story. 3,500 years ago, a new people arrived. 162 years ago, a king offered his islands to a queen. 55 years ago, a flag was lowered, a new one raised. 38 years ago, the first military coup. Today, a nation of islands looks to its future. These are the markers of Fiji's journey, a journey that began long ago. On the vast blue expanse of the Pacific Ocean, it is a story of resilient communities. It is a story of change, both slow and sudden. Each date is a chapter, revealing how these islands became the nation they are today. The first chapter begins with the Lapita people. They were masters of the sea. They set out from Southeast Asia in magnificent double-hulled canoes. Around 1500 BC, they reached these volcanic isles. They were not just wanderers, they were settlers. They brought with them the essentials for a new life. Taro yams, breadfruit pigs, dogs, chickens. Their arrival marked the beginning of human history in Fiji. They built villages along the coasts. They cleared small plots in the lush forests. They adapted to their new home with remarkable skill and ingenuity. These early settlers left behind a clear signature of their presence. Archaeologists have found their distinctive pottery across the islands. It is called Lapita ware. These ceramic pots are often decorated with intricate stamped designs, geometric patterns, human faces, stylized birds. Each piece is a work of art. It tells us about their beliefs and their world. It shows a culture that valued beauty and precision. Finding these fragments is like finding a message in a bottle. It is a tangible link to the very first Fijians, people who looked upon these same mountains and shores thousands of years ago. Over centuries, the Lapita culture evolved. New waves of Melanesian migrants arrived. They brought different traditions and languages. Society became more complex. Villages grew larger and more fortified. Powerful chiefdoms emerged, controlling territories and trade routes. The first European eyes to see Fiji belonged to a Dutch navigator. His name was Abel Tasman. In 1643, his ship sailed near the treacherous reefs of the northeastern islands. He marked them on his charts as a danger to be avoided. He did not land. For more than a century, Fiji remained a mysterious smudge on the maps of the world. It was not until the late 1700s, with Captain James Cook and later Captain William Bligh. Bligh, cast adrift after the mutiny on the HMS Bounty, sailed through the archipelago in 1789. He and his men were chased by Fijian canoes, an experience that earned the waters the name Bligh Water. The 19th century brought a flood of new arrivals. These were not explorers, but exploiters and evangelists. Whalers came seeking provisions and refuge. Traders came for the fragrant sandalwood, a valuable commodity in China. Then came the beachcombers, men who deserted their ships to live among the Fijians. They were a mixed blessing. Some offered firearms and advice in local wars, becoming advisors to powerful chiefs. Others brought chaos and violence. This was an era of intense and often unpredictable contact. The introduction of muskets, in particular, dramatically escalated the scale and deadliness of tribal conflicts. Close behind the traders and whalers were the Christian missionaries. They arrived from Tonga and later directly from Europe. They saw Fiji as a land of heathenism and cannibalism. They were determined to save souls. Their work was slow and dangerous at first, but they were persistent. They built churches. They translated the Bible into the Fijian language. They gradually converted influential chiefs, like the powerful Seru Epenisa Kakabau. The acceptance of Christianity marked a profound cultural shift. It led to the abandonment of many traditional practices and beliefs, fundamentally reshaping Fijian society from the village up. This period of chaotic change created instability. Rival chiefs, armed with European weapons, vied for supremacy. The growing European settlement in the town of Levuka brought its own problems of lawlessness. Chief Kakabau, who had unified much of western Fiji, faced mounting debts to American traders and threats of intervention. Seeking stability and protection, he made a momentous decision. In 1874, he formally offered the islands to Great Britain. On October 10, 1874, Fiji became a British Crown colony. The Union Jack was raised, signaling the end of one era and the beginning of a long and complicated colonial chapter. You know. Under British rule, Fiji was transformed. The colonial administration, led by the first governor, Sir Arthur Gordon, set about establishing order and a new economic system. Gordon had a distinct vision. He wanted to protect the indigenous Fijian way of life. He prohibited the sale of Fijian land. He established a system of indirect rule through the Great Council of Chiefs. To fuel the colony's new sugar industry, he looked not to Fijian labor, but abroad. This decision would have the most profound and lasting impact on the nation's future. It set the stage for a new social dynamic, one that would define Fiji for generations to come. Between 1879 and 1916, the British brought nearly 60,000 indentured laborers from India. These workers came on a system known as the Gurmat. They signed contracts to work on the vast sugarcane plantations for 5 years. The conditions were harsh. The work was grueling. The pay was low. They called it Nerak, or hell. At the end of their contracts, many chose to stay. They could not afford the passage home, or they saw a chance for a better life in Fiji. They leased small plots of land, became farmers and merchants, and built their own communities, schools, and temples. A new Fiji was taking shape, one with two distinct and parallel cultures. After nearly a century of British rule, the winds of change blew across the Pacific. On October 10, 1970, exactly 96 years after becoming a colony, Fiji became an independent nation. The transition was peaceful. Prince Charles represented the Queen at the ceremonies in Suva. The new nation adopted a constitution that tried to balance the interests of the two main communities. Indigenous Fijians were guaranteed political dominance and protections for their land. Indo-Fijians, who by then made up about half the population, were a powerful economic force. For a time, this delicate balance held. However, the ethnic divisions embedded in the colonial structure proved to be a source of tension. Politics became deeply polarized along racial lines. In 1987, a newly elected government, perceived as being dominated by Indo-Fijians, was overthrown in a military coup led by Lieutenant Colonel Sitiveni Rabuka. He claimed he was acting to protect the rights of indigenous Fijians. The event shocked the nation and the world. It led to a second coup later that year, the declaration of a republic and the drafting of a new discriminatory constitution. This was the first of several political crises that would challenge Fiji's stability and its dream of a harmonious, multiracial society. The name Fiji is not what the island's inhabitants originally called their home. It is a story of translation and transformation, passed from one tongue to another across the sea. The people of the islands referred to their land as Viti. It is a simple, powerful name, but the world came to know it through their neighbors. The seafaring Tongans had long-standing trade, sometimes tributary relationships, with the eastern Fijian islands. In their language, the consonant sounds shifted. Viti became Fisi on the lips of a Tongan warrior or trader. This was the name they used when speaking of the islands to the west. The first Europeans to learn of the islands in any detail were often those who had first visited Tonga. Captain Cook, on his voyages in the 1770s, heard the Tongans speak of Fisi. He recorded this name in his journals. As cartographers and mariners copied these notes, the name began to appear on maps of the Pacific. Early English speakers further altered the pronunciation. The S sound in Fiji was hardened, and the vowels were adjusted to fit English phonetics. Over time, Fiji was anglicized into the name we know today, Fiji. It is a name born from a chain of intercultural communication. This linguistic journey is not just a historical curiosity. It reflects the very nature of Fiji's history as a crossroads. The islands were never truly isolated. They were part of a dynamic network of Pacific Island societies long before Europeans arrived. The name itself is a testament to the influence of Tonga. It reminds us that Fiji's story is interwoven with the broader history of Oceania. The name carries echoes of ancient voyages, of Tongan canoes arriving on Fijian shores, trade tribute war. Today, the name Viti is still used with pride within the country. It is seen on businesses. Fiji's culture is a vibrant blend of ancient traditions and modern influences. At its core is the indigenous Fijian way of life, known as Vanua. This concept is deeply tied to the land, the community, the spiritual world. Village life remains central, organized around family units, toka-toka clans, matakali. A strict social hierarchy exists, with chiefs holding positions of authority and respect. This structure is visible in everyday interactions and formal ceremonies. One of the most important ceremonies is the sevu-sevu, the formal presentation of a gift, usually kava to a chief or elder as a sign of respect when entering a village. The kava ceremony is a cornerstone of Fijian social life. Kava, known locally as yakona, is a drink made from the crushed root of a pepper plant. It has a mild sedative effect and is non-alcoholic. It is prepared in a large wooden bowl called a tanoa and served in a half coconut shell called a bailo. Sharing a bowl of kava is a way to welcome guests, seal agreements, and simply socialize. It is a ritual that slows down time, encourages conversation, and reinforces community bonds. To sit in a circle clap and accept a bailo of kava is to participate in one of the most authentic and enduring traditions of the Pacific. Indo-Fijian culture adds another rich layer to the nation's identity. Descendants of the Gurmit laborers have preserved many of the traditions of their Indian homeland. They celebrate vibrant festivals like Diwali, the Festival of Lights, and the Muslim festival of Eid. Their music, food, and religious practices are a vital part of Fiji's cultural landscape. A walk through a town like Nadi or Ba reveals the town scene. Hindu temples, mosques, and Christian churches. The air is often filled with the scent of curry and spices, a delicious counterpoint to the traditional Fijian earth oven, or lovo. This mix is what makes Fiji unique. And then there is rugby. If there is one thing that unites all Fijians, regardless of their background, it is a passionate love for the sport of rugby. On any given afternoon, in any village or park, you will see boys and men playing with incredible flair and athleticism. Fiji's national rugby sevens team is legendary. They have won Olympic gold medals and are admired around the world for their joyful, free-flowing style of play. A victory for the national team is a cause for national celebration. Here is a small story. After winning gold in 2016, the government declared a national holiday. In one village, the people celebrated for a week, sharing food and stories. Rugby is more than a sport. It is an expression of national pride. It's really something to behold. The modern Fijian economy rests on three main pillars: tourism, agriculture, remittances. Tourism is the most visible and valuable. The country's stunning natural beauty, white sandy beaches, clear turquoise waters, vibrant coral reefs. Every year, hundreds of thousands of visitors arrive, seeking paradise. They stay in luxury resorts on the Coral Coast. They go diving in the Somosomo Strait. They explore the Mamanuca Islands. They explore the Yasawa Islands. This industry provides thousands of jobs: hotel staff, tour guides, taxi drivers, craft vendors. It is the engine that drives much of the national economy. Agriculture has long been the backbone of Fiji. For decades, sugar was king. Vast fields of sugarcane still dominate the landscape. Viti Levu, Vanua Levu. The sugar industry remains a significant employer and export source. Beyond sugar, coconuts, ginger, taro, tropical fruits. The fishing industry is also vital. Tuna. These natural resources form the traditional foundation of the nation's wealth. Fiji is an archipelago of over 330 islands. Total land area about 18,300 square kilometers, similar in size to Slovenia. But the exclusive economic zone is about 1.3 million square kilometers of ocean. The population is just over 900,000 people. Most live on Viti Levu, Suva, the capital city. Nadi Airport, the main international gateway. Life in a remote outer island village. Life in a bustling urban center. Protecting Fiji's natural environment is crucial for its future. The Great Astrolabe Reef, rich marine ecosystems. These habitats are under threat from climate change, coral bleaching, and from rising sea levels eroding low-lying islands. Fiji has become a prominent voice on the world stage for climate action. At home, there is a growing focus on conservation projects and on ecotourism that protects natural bounty. You know, it's a delicate balance. Fiji's journey since independence has been marked by periods of significant political turmoil. The military coup of 1987, the civilian-led coup of 2000, the military takeover in 2006. These events were driven by ethnic tension, economic anxiety, struggles for political power. Each crisis damaged investor confidence, hurt the tourism industry, deepened divisions within society. The path to rebuilding trust has been long and arduous. It has required constitutional reforms, difficult conversations, a collective desire to move beyond the conflicts of the past. In recent years, Fiji has made strides toward political normalcy. A new constitution was introduced in 2013, establishing a common and equal citizenry for all. General elections in 2014 restored a democratically elected government. Subsequent elections continued the process. Political debate remains robust and at times contentious, yet the nation has experienced sustained stability. This allowed the economy to recover and grow. It gave people renewed security and optimism for what lies ahead. Fiji is on the front line of climate change. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities. Powerful cyclones are more frequent. Cyclone Winston in 2016 showed the nation's vulnerability. The recovery demonstrated Fijian resilience and Sole Solovaki. Adapting to climate change and building resilient infrastructure are top priorities. Today, as the sun sets over the Pacific, Fiji is a nation at peace. The warmth of its people, the Bula spirit, remains its greatest asset. Lush volcanic islands, shimmering reefs. Cultural heritage blends ancient Melanesian tradition, Indo-Fijian vibrancy. The challenges are real, but so are the strengths. The story of Fiji is one of survival, adaptation, and enduring hope. It continues to be written, one day at a time, on these beautiful islands in the heart of the great ocean. And that sense of hope is, remarkably strong.